With World Heart Day coming up tomorrow, it's a great time to now shine a spotlight on one of the biggest health issues out there, cardiovascular disease. Now, every year, millions of people die from heart attacks, strokes, and other heart-related problems, many of which could actually be prevented with some simple lifestyle changes. And that's why experts are reminding us to take better care of our hearts, eat healthier, stay active, and manage stress and steer clear of smoking. To chat more about how we can all, keep our hearts in good shape, we joined today by a guest, Professor Pamela Naidoo, who's CEO of the Heart Foundation. Doc, thank you so much for your time on the program this hour. So the numbers are shocking. South Africa loses about 215 people every day to heart disease, but many really don't take note and think it's something that happens only later in life. From what you see, who is most at risk right now, and how is this disease showing up in younger working class people? And what signs should people, or what signs rather, people ignoring in their 20s and 30s that should be red flags?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be on your show, and good morning to the viewers as well. So, very good question. I think the people at risk, traditionally speaking, we would always say people over the age of 50 should be more careful, and those over the age of 70 are mostly at risk. However, the world has changed, and there have been many changes along the way as well. So with dietary changes, with not knowing what's actually in our food items, because there are so many inorganic substances in our food, with the increased consumption of sugar, salt, and so on, it has actually brought what we call morbidity and mortality. So the death rate and the disability rate has come down to younger and younger people. So I would say that the easiest way to measure your risk is to know what your genetic risk is. So what is your family history? Usually about 20 to 30% of the risk sits with your genetics. So for example, you could have raised cholesterol, but eating well, and it could be purely due to a familial history of raised cholesterol levels. You get the similar situation with raised blood pressure or hypertension as we know it, and diabetes as well. Now, diabetes type 2 is the specific risk factor that I think would affect all age groups because of the unhealthy eating behavioral habits of from childhood right into adulthood. It's cheaper foods, but it's also foods that are nutrition deficit, and it seems like it's a healthy meal, but actually it's not, because it's fried in trans fats. And so all of these cumulative risk, lack of exercise, not knowing your risk is a risk in itself. So I would say that on average, you're still looking at the older individual being more at risk, but when the younger people are affected, it's usually behavioral.
Okay, and I think we'll explore that in the coming questions that I'll also ask, Doc. And high blood pressure is called the silent killer because many people don't feel sick until it's too late. Just how often should people be checking their blood pressure? And just maybe what simple, affordable ways exist to do that at home or in the community? And just also help us connect the dots as to why is controlling blood pressure so critical for protecting heart health in the long run. And this is for someone who feels healthy but has never had a check. What numbers should they be looking out for, and when should they start worrying?
Oh, yes. Hypertension remains the key risk factor in our communities. And basically, your ideal blood pressure should be in a range of between 120 to about 130 over 90 to 100. It'll never be an exact number. Anything above that raises the risk profile. Now, the problem with having raised blood pressure, it puts more effort on the heart to function, right? So it means that the heart has got to work harder. The heart is a muscle. And, everything has a threshold. So if you push your heart beyond its threshold, and one of the reasons that happens is with very, very high blood pressure. Hence, people with blood pressure, particularly the top number, which is the systolic, is if it's 140 or over, it's an absolute danger risk zone, and you need to get medical care immediately. Now, I like the way you raise the issue around what can people do at home. I think that for those of us who are fortunate enough to self-manage, we should buy a blood pressure machine. They're not very expensive now. Many of the good pharmaceutical outlets have them. And particularly for older people and people who have a genetic history, people who smoke, these are all, if you know your risk profile is not great, then one, you change your behavior as much as you can, and two, make certain that you check your blood pressure at home. Usually you need at least 2 readings minimum, and then take the average of the 2. So don't have a cup of coffee and then check your blood pressure. It's going to obviously be high. Don't have a smoke and check your blood pressure. So do it when you're calm, before you eat or drink preferably, and do it perhaps twice a day if you are 130 and over.
Yeah, and I think with those home tests, I've been told that on some instance that you must actually be at a relaxing position so you're able to get the full benefit of it, Doc. And with that said, management and prevention also becomes key. And many say that healthy eating is expensive. And we are seeing this come to light in the South African context, with many households having to tighten their belts. And say, for example, you gave a family maybe 100 rands to spend at a supermarket. What's the healthier basket they could buy, and what would the unhealthy version of the same basket be?
That's a great question. I think a healthy version, yes, I think it is a misnomer. Look, things for everybody's become more expensive, but I do not believe that healthier foods are more expensive than less healthy options, okay? So a food basket that is really good for you, that's nutrition dense, so in other words, good nutrition, would be more plant-based. So try and go for all the different colors of vegetables and fruit for that matter, and then have a small portion of protein in whatever your cultural group allows. Some cultural groups don't allow certain types of meat. Choose your meat, whether it be fish or white meat or red meat, and that should be your plate. And I can promise you that you obviously can get a healthy basket with that. If you want to buy an unhealthy basket with that same money, you will then go and buy the fried food option, which is laden with trans fats, which is toxic for your system. And so it's not just going to make you obese, it's also going to increase the toxins in your bloodstream. So, it has a double burden if you buy the unhealthy option.
And I know we touched on this briefly when we started our conversation. Now, South Africans live on coffee mostly, and fizzy drinks and, other energy drinks to push through long days. What's the real cost to the heart of this so-called energy culture that we see? And why don't we see it until it's too late? If someone, for instance, say, drinks 2 energy drinks daily, what happens inside their body over time? Can you just break it down for us simply for our viewers?
Yes, no, absolutely. I think that part of the problem is the way these drinks are marketed. So they say it's an energy drink, but what they actually mean is laden with sugar. Now, if you are going to have a drink like that laden with sugar, you are in serious trouble. And I'll give you a quick analogy for how bad sugar is for you. If you take a tooth and you put it in a glass of fizzy drink like a Coke with, not a sugar-free Coke, but a normal Coke, the next morning there will not be a tooth left. So sugar invades your body, literally. And it's now also known to cause and to lead to certain types of cancers, not just obesity.
Sure. Wow, Doc. And, there's also this chat around the nature of hypertension and high blood pressure. Many say once someone has high blood pressure or diabetes, many believe the damage is done and it's just medication for life. Can these conditions be, somewhat reversed when we look at our lifestyle?
Yes. Absolutely can. And one of the things that I, in public health, I've always not favored the term lifestyle. I think it's because it doesn't give a true picture of what one needs to do. What we should be calling it out for what it is, and that is your behavioral repertoire, or the types of healthy or unhealthy behaviors one has. So the point is that if you have high blood pressure, it doesn't mean you're hypertensive. It does mean you can very well bring that blood pressure down. So if you're smoking, if you are not someone who exercises regularly, all you need to do is a simple walk. You do not even need to put on gym clothes. You just need to walk for 50 to 20 minutes a day just to get your circulation going, to get your blood system, circulating, because that oxygenated blood is key to repairing your body. This is why during COVID, we were running around looking for oxygen tanks, because it so affected the circulatory system and depleted the oxygen supply. So those simple measures can actually bring your blood pressure down. If you have a genetic history of hypertension and you have other comorbidities, so you might be HIV positive, you might have cancer, you might have upper respiratory tract conditions, then I would suggest do keep to the medical regimen that the doctor is prescribing, along with those behavioral changes that I just mentioned.
Look, Doc, great chatting. I must thank you so much for your time and insights right here on the program. And that is Professor Pamela Naidoo, who's CEO of the Heart Foundation, talking to us about all things heart health ahead of a World Heart Health Day that happens tomorrow. Thanks so much indeed for your time on the program.